Piazza Cavour, what's my vote for? If you're Greek, you might not be so sure because the post-referendum bailout deal is even worse than the ones before. And yet there's more, because in the last few weeks, perhaps the most turbulent weeks in the history of the European Union, we have some rather existential questions to ask about our monetary union. Joining us today is Brigid Laffan, Director of the Robert Schuman Centre of Advanced Studies. Brigid, it must feel now like the euro has strayed pretty far from what its original intent was, which was to unite the continent.
Well, the euro was not established certainly to sow the seeds of division and ire and anger between across the member states. It was decided in the context of German unification as one symbol and an important symbol of unity across the member states. As we know, not every country joined. There are now 19 of the 28 member states or member states of the European Union. And this is a currency facing very serious challenges.
There must be a sort of image now in the rest of the world that our sort of liberal democracy here in Europe isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Well, I would say, firstly, two things. One, that the euro continues to be a very strong reserve currency. So people are actually maintaining the euro as a reserve currency. In terms of liberal democracy, I'm not so sure that one could argue that this is a challenge fundamentally to democracy. So what we have here is one member state of the euro area, Greece, had an election in January, and in that election, the Syriza party offered two incompatible goals to its electorate. It said, we will keep you in the euro and we will end austerity. Given the fact that Greece cannot borrow in the international markets, this was an incompatible dyad. It was simply not possible for the Greek government to deliver this. The Greek government then tried to deliver it by engaging in negotiations with the other member states, all of whom are democracies, all of whom have elections, all of whom have parliaments. And they thought that the outcome of their election should trump the outcomes of the elections in every other country. And this is not possible. And also, this Greek government and Greece itself continued to be entirely dependent on the other governments. And if you're dependent on other governments, you do not tell them that they're engaging in terrorism. You do not say to them that they're blackmailing you. And you do not say that they're engaging in illegal maneuvers of one kind or another. So what we have is the elected government of one country in an extremely naive way, deciding to play hardball from a very weak position. And it miscalculated and ended up in a much worse situation. The Greek economy was much stronger last December than it is now. We have a situation where the banks daily, the Greek economy is deteriorating further. The Greek citizens themselves voted with their money. They took their money out of their banks because they didn't trust their government and didn't trust the banks. So it's one of these great paradoxes where the democratic outcome, and they won the election democratically, comes up against the wishes of other countries and the preferences of other countries. And of course, in an environment with creditors and debtors, creditors are more powerful. So I would say that Syriza misread the environment from the beginning. They were naive, inexperienced, and also thought that they could, by testing the other member states, that the other member states would blink. They didn't.
We'll see what happens to Syriza in the coming weeks, but could it be socially sustainable for economic policies to be imposed on an unwilling population?
Well, the outcome is the worst of all possible worlds, because the Greek, in a referendum that was called within 6 days, the Greek people voted overwhelmingly against further austerity. And the Prime Minister, Tsipras, has signed up to an even tougher package. Why did that happen? Because he can't, on his own resources, end austerity. He needs the other member states. The other member states are very divided. There's a hardcore now of countries, 9, led by Germany, that in my view would allow Greece to go. There's a smaller group of countries, France and Italy, Cyprus and Malta, who want to keep Greece in at any cost. And then there are other countries between those two extreme positions. But Greece's position in the euro remains, in my view, very fragile.
Indeed, and that was what I was going to ask you last, is that in a few months we're probably going to be here again, aren't we?
Well, I think that this is, if they agree to a bailout, and that means that the Greek Parliament must pass a raft of laws, the other member states in a number of countries, their parliaments must also agree, and then there will be very difficult technical negotiations on a third bailout, which the volume is about 86 billion. Now, 86 billion is a lot of money. If they get to that stage, then in my view, this is Greece's last opportunity to stay in the euro. There will not, in my view, be a fourth bailout.
Interesting. Well,
it will be over.
The end. Okay. And unfortunately, this interview is over as well. Brigid Laffan, thank you very much for joining us. And if you found this interesting, please consider subscribing to the Florence School of Banking and Finance YouTube channel. We'll be back again soon. Bye.